and and Magokpa. I don't know. You see, evidence Magokpa. This time around, there's no evidence, so you go explain tire. There's no, there's no evidence. You gotta go explain tire.
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are listening or watching us from. This is the Naija FC Podcast. As always, I'm your host, AyoT, and I have with me my co-host.
Layi, thanks for joining.
Yes, thank you very much for joining. We are back again for another episode, another exciting, interesting episode. And we're still, of course, in AFCON mood, talking about the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations taking place in Ivory Coast. If you watched the last video, you listen to it, you know that we spoke about the semifinals. And the semifinals have come and gone, and we've seen some interesting football. And we have two games to review for you today. The first semifinal was between Nigeria and South Africa, and the second semifinal was between DR Congo and the host nation, Ivory Coast. Before we get into the Nigeria game, Smith Layi, I've been asking you this for the past few episodes. You know, this AFCON, like how sad are you that it is about to end? Only 2 matches left. How sad are you?
I'm very sad. I'm very sad about because like I told you earlier that this AFCON is like the best I've seen. As in it doesn't come. Even I was reading Gary Neville comments about the AFCON that everything was top notch. The VAR that maybe they should import the VAR operators
to come and teach
come
Premier
and do
League.
the EPL one, because it's like this is the final. The final is on Sunday, so I'll be left with watching Man City again. This is what I do. I don't want to, but this AFCON is just the best. And kudos to Ivory Coast. Kudos to those that actually what made this happen. I think this is the best, in history.
Amazing, and I have to echo that sentiment. I'm so happy about the tournament that we've seen, and I'm so sad that the tournament is about to end. Although there is something that is giving me joy, and we'll get to it in a second. The first game of the semifinals was between the Super Eagles of Nigeria and Bafana of South Africa. I would say Nigeria, we set up in our now familiar 3-4-3 formation, is what we've played in every match except the first game against Equatorial Guinea. Stanley Nwabali retained his position in goal. Calvin Bassey, William Troost-Ekong, and Shemi Ajayi were the 3 centre backs. We saw a change in his side though, with Ola Aina going to the left wing back in place of Zaidu Sanusi. He unfortunately suffered an injury in the game against Angola and wasn't able to take part in the game against South Africa. So Aina went to left wing back, and then Bright Osayi Samuel came into the side and played at the right wing back. The 2 in midfield were Frank Onyeka and Alex Big 17 Iwobi, and then the 3 attackers were the same: Moses Simon, Ademola Lookman, and of course number 9 Victor Osimhen. So this game was an interesting one. Without going into too much detail about each player, I'll just talk quickly. We have to give Stanley Nwabali his credit. If you didn't watch the game, Nwabali made some fantastic saves, especially in the penalty shootout where he saved 2. Nigeria, of course, won the game on penalties after playing a 1-1 draw after 120 minutes. In defense, William Troost-Ekong stepped up again to score a penalty for the Super Eagles after Osimhen was fouled in the box. And Calvin Bassey and Shemi Ajayi also were very good. I think Shemi Ajayi is one of the unsung heroes of the Super Eagles team throughout this tournament and our run to the final, because Shemi Ajayi has been really, really good, but he goes under the radar. He doesn't play with gra. He just does his job calmly and quietly, and his performance, I think, tends to go under the radar. Ola Aina, in this game, I felt like he wasn't as effective on the left as he has been on the right. Another thing that I've said in the past is that when he plays on the left, he becomes so predictable, because when he goes in attack, that 9 times out of 10, or if not 9.8 times out of 10, he's going to try to cut on his right foot and then whip in a cross or pass the ball to Iwobi or somebody else that is coming. And no matter how many times he fakes as if he wants to go to the left, the defenders know that he's not going to the left. He will still go to the right. I think he tried it once in the South Africa game and he ran the ball off the field. And from there, he was like, I beg, I'm just going to stay on my right foot and keep doing what I know how to do. And then Bright Osayi Samuel on the right-hand side. In the first half, it was a little bit shaky. We're like, how is this thing actually working? In fact, at halftime, I was already like, they should just bring in Omeru and put Calvin Bassey on the left, let Aina come back to the right. But in the second half and going into the extra time, I think Bright Osayi Samuel picked up, for sure. And he ended up having a good game, in all honesty. In the midfield, I have to, raise my hands for Frank Onyeka. I think that he has been steadily improving as the tournament has been going on. After that first game that we're like, what's this guy doing? He has been improving his performances, and I think he had another immense performance against South Africa. If you go on our X/Twitter page, I posted a highlight video of Onyeka's performance from the game against South Africa, and man, you would see the kind of work that he did that to the untrained eye, during the game, you don't really notice the impacts because he's just making tackles. He's not the one that is scoring or that is assisting or that is involved as much in the attack. And the average person might not necessarily see the effort that he's putting in. But just to help us retain possession, help us, lay the ball off to the more creative players, and then interceptions. In the first half, when South Africa had one nice counter attack, he was the one that made the sliding interception to block the pass from getting through, which if they had scored that goal, potentially it could have been a long day or a long night for the Super Eagles. So I give credit to Frank Onyeka. And then, of course, Lookman worked hard as always, trying his best to help out the team in attack while also helping out in defense. The only thing I would say is that Lookman commits quite a number of fouls. That's something in a bid to help the team. He commits quite a number of fouls. And if you go and watch, he was the one that committed the foul that led to the free kick that South Africa had in the last minute of the game that they nearly scored from the rebound. So obviously, it's just something that he needs to be a little bit careful. It's all with good intention, but of course, he needs to be a bit more careful. Osimhen, I feel like Osimhen today was the same Osimhen we've seen throughout this AFCON. Playing well, giving everything except the goals. Osimhen had a few chances in the game, headers, went wide, went over the bar, just couldn't quite get it. In the last minute or one of the last few minutes, he had a shot from outside the box that the goalkeeper saved well. But other than that, he didn't really look like he was going to score, even though he was having a good game. And then Simon had a decent performance. I think when Chukwueze came on, I think Chukwueze actually did better than Moses Simon did. So like Smith Layi said, Chukwueze knows the South Africans now, so he knows what is going to do to them. So yeah, those are my thoughts quickly on the Nigeria team. Smith Layi, what did you think about the players in
You
that
said
game?
it all. You said it all. Just a few additions. You mentioned something about Osai Samuel, what he did in the first half. But I think what really contributed to his performance in the second half was because the introduction of Alassane Yusuf in the midfield. Now there's now balance. So he need that there's no gap, no too much gap between the players. So he can bump forward, he can contribute to the attack, he can also defend well because he knew that okay, someone will cover. But don't forget that, and I have to pick up Alex Iwobi too in this case, and it's not his fault. Alex Iwobi, our build-up play normally comes through him. But the basic issue is that defending is like a liability. I won't lie to you. Defending is like what? It's like a liability. So I think Jose Pasero actually was spotted that in the second half and he changed things around. So kudos to the team that actually they did well. You've mentioned all of them, or I don't think I have any other addition. So you mentioned Olaino too. Olaino, I think Olaino is better as a left back than the left wing back because I think that he gets his better performance when he's playing as a left back than a left wing back. And I think someone said that we're gonna miss Edu. And I think we miss Edu that game, despite that it has not been that productive for us in previous games. Because that's when you see a natural left footer. But I just want to point something out. That means that Bruno Yemechi is not, I don't know, he was dressed. I don't think he's up for this AFCON. I think only Bruno Imechi, Olorunleke Ojo, and Chidozie Awasim have not tasted action in this AFCON. So, and that speaks a lot. I don't know the reason why.
No, I think Awaziem came on for one match, I think.
I don't think so.
Yeah. I thought he came on in one of the matches, but yeah, go on.
It's just to tell you that if they couldn't trust you in this type of game, Bruno, I don't think except something actually what changes. I don't think going forward, national team call up might be very hard to come by. If you can actually get opportunities when this time around. So for me, the team actually played well, but kudos to the South Africans too. They actually they fought well and they had it and they actually did well in that game. So for me, you said everything. Like Victor Osimhen too. The African Footballer of the Year, he did his best in that game. And when I saw the highlights, I realized that he won that penalty between 4 players. Like it was 4 players on him. That's what they call him, the African best player of the year. You can't give Lukman also that type of attention. So he dragged them down, and I'm really really happy for that. He won 2 penalties now for us in this AFCON, and
Yeah.
those 2 penalties are so important. One in the semi-final, one in the second group game when we're under pressure to win.
Yeah.
So I'm really actually happy, and then the man of the match, Stanley Wabali. I don't know how to explain. This is one of the best goalkeeping performance I have seen in the tournament. I know I can compare this with 2013 in Yama, but this is the best I've seen. I have to be honest with you, because even in Yama, they don't have to face penalty shootout in 2013. But this guy is massive. This guy is a beast, and kudos to the team that actually did well. For me, I know we still go to some questions in the game, but you said it all. Good performance, but one win from the trophy.
And I checked. Awaziem played 1 minute against Guinea-Bissau.
Oh, okay.
came on-
Well,
He came on in the 94th minute of the game against Guinea-Bissau. So
okay, 94th minute. Okay. I didn't see him. That's the reason why. So, and
at least
okay, I think it's only
third ball.
yeah, and even Bruno did not kick any ball.
No, at Bruno, I don't think he has kicked ball at all.
Yeah,
Okay, and I guess let me ask you about Kelechi Iheanacho and Terry Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
These are two guys that a lot of fans have been asking, like, why are they not playing? Why are they not playing? How would you rate the impact that they were able to make after coming off the bench? Iheanacho came on in the 102nd minute, and Terry Murphy came on in the 110th minute. How would you rate their impact on the bench in that game?
For me, I have to talk about Terry Murphy first. So immediately, South Africa considered that penalty. They went to a back four. I think they made some changes. They went to a back four. And I saw all their games in this AFCON. Immediately South Africa go to a back four, they're in trouble. There's always this true ball. If you see a striker that is very fit, that can run behind the defenders, you're going to actually get at them. So I think that was what happened in that red card. So I expected Jose Parceiro to have seen that, and I think it was good. I liked what Murphy did. Murphy knew that those guys were tired already, and he knew that if he can bend his throw very well, they will not be able to actually hold him. If not because he was brought down, that would have been a pass to Chukwueze or a goal directly to Nigeria. So that was one thing, and that was his first touch of the ball, and he nearly scored with that. And for Kelechi too, it was Kelechi that actually gave that true pass too, and he also scored the winning penalty. So you won't. I can't really rate their performance in that game. I have to be honest, because you can't compare someone that played just 10 minutes with only a few touches compared to someone that's been there for like 80 something minutes. It's going to be very difficult to actually assess that. And for me, they actually did well in part so, but not much. Like I don't think we have to lay any emphasis on that. I think they did well.
Well said. Okay, and if you didn't see the game, of course, the first penalty for Nigeria was taken by Terry Murphy. One of the reasons why the coach brought him on. He scored. South Africa, Mokena, who had equalized for them from the penalty spot, unfortunately missed his own. Omero, very calm penalty. Omero converted his own. And then we had Mayambela also scoring for South Africa. And then Ola, unfortunately, even though he's had a fantastic tournament, he skied the balloon this penalty, and then Makoba got his penalty saved again by Nwabali. Ekong scored, Mvala scored for South Africa, and then Kelechi Iheanacho, senior man, scored the winning penalty that sent Nigeria through to the final. Just on that penalty shootout, something that I will say I really liked, and I don't know if they actually planned it or it was just happenstance, but in my opinion, I give credit to the coach for the way he organized the kick takers in that game. First of all, Terry Murphy. In my opinion, Murphy is one of the best finishers that Nigeria has. I've said this thing on record many times. He's a better finisher than Osimhen. Osimhen is a better striker, but Murphy is a better finisher, just pure finisher. And for me, I always look at it that the first penalty you don't want to miss.
Yeah.
Teams always like to save their best penalty taker for last. But then, like we saw in the Super Falcons game against England, What if he doesn't get to the last one? Now your
Mm-hmm.
best penalty taker is just there and
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have the chance to take. So I like the fact that they put a solid penalty taker, Murphy, as the first kick. Score that first one, get us going. Then you put the quote unquote good but not as good players second and third. In Kenneth Omeru, obviously he has been scoring it in practice, but he's not somebody that you expect. If you get penalty in a match, you wouldn't really give Omeru the penalty to take. So let him go second. Same with Olaino. Let him go third. And then Ekong, who has been our penalty taker throughout this AFCON, went fourth. So that, okay, in case you need somebody to score the fourth one, but
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't get to the fifth one, at least you still have a strong penalty taker taking that fourth that could potentially be the last penalty. And then,
Yeah.
of course, Nacho, who is also a good penalty taker, taking the fifth one. I just was happy with the way they arranged the kickers, because if they had decided to go, let I not take first, or let Omero take first, and or let Ekong take first, it could have change the outcome of the shootout. And of course, credits to Nwabali for pulling off two fantastic saves to keep us in the game. For the way they hyped the South African goalkeeper after their own game against Cape Verde, he did not even see one penalty to save, because even the one that Olaino missed, my guy don't already fly go another direction. Olaino just happened to sky it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let me just
So
say a few things about the
keep on.
penalty. Okay, I have to appreciate Jose Pasero and his backroom staff about the work they actually did, even in that penalty, because clearly you can see, if you look at the toss of the coin, it was Rodney Williams that actually won it. So he backed himself to go to that post. He backed himself that he's Nigeria should kick first, because he
Yeah.
knew that if we actually kick first, he might probably be in trouble.
Mm.
So, and from the other side too, and I think that they tried to use the template they used against Cape Verde. Cape Verde went with their best penalty taker. That was a baby. This is how Rod normally do. He dives to where your your leg is. So if you are playing if you are a left footer, he's going to dive to his left, your right.
Yeah.
If you are a right footer, he's going to dive to his right, your left. So when Murphy did, when Murphy actually kicked, I know straight away that he's going to go to the right. I think the Nigerian backroom staff too studied him. I think they knew that if we could kick our penalty well, we know that Nwabali will save, because I think they worked more on the goalkeeper than even their own kick, Nigerian kick. They worked more on Williams because they knew exactly the strategy he actually would use. So kudos to, but for me, I think that the penalty, the way they arranged it was spot on. When Murphy actually was called that first penalty, I think it was pressure on South Africa straight away before Mokwena missed. So, and and Magokpa, I don't know, you see, evidence Magokpa. This time around, there's no evidence, so you go explain tire. There's no, there's no evidence. You gotta go explain tire. So I think that penalty, a lot of people say that it's a worst penalty. No, if Nwabali went the wrong way, that's a top notch. You know that even
See, that's the thing that they say about penalties. If it goes in, it's a good penalty. If
yeah,
it doesn't go in, it's a bad penalty.
it's a bad penalty. So I like what Nigerian backroom did. That shows that so someone that said that Patero is not doing well. For me, I think that I like what they did. They worked on him, and you can see clearly that he didn't save any. For someone that saved 4, and he has saved 67% of the penalty that he saved. He went to the right direction 73% of the time. He never gets it right. He went on the wrong direction for Murphy. For Omero, he stood on this thing, without this thing. And if you look at the one that Ekong played, he knew that how Ekong played against Ghana, penalty. They have seen how Ekong played against Ivory Coast. They have seen how Ekong beat him too during that game. So you can see that he stayed, he didn't move. He thought Ekong would actually go down the middle. Ekong too waited for him to move. But when he didn't move, he went for power to the right. So it was too late for him to dive. So that was how we actually got into that. So I like the way we approached that. Although the penalty would have been very good. If not that, I think it was his side foot or so. And at that, it's like at that point, if you side foot the ball, it's going to fly. So I think that was his own problem. But good penalty is what it's tactics. I won't lie to you. Tactically, we beat them in that penalty.
No, very, very, very true. Very impressive display. Kudos to the entire backroom staff for the
Mm-hmm.
work that they must have done. And of course, kudos to the players for converting and for doing the job on the field. Okay, let's talk about South Africa very quickly. They had Ronan Williams in goal. They had Modiba, Kekana, Mvala, Mudau, and Zulu, in their defense. They had Zwane, Sitole, Mokwena, um, Persitao, and then they had Evidence Makuba
Mm-hmm.
up front. Was there any South African player that impressed you? Because in this game, I have to give kudos to South Africa. They played a decent match. They played a good match,
Mm-hmm.
but it appeared that they were just trying to take advantage of those long balls over the top,
Yeah.
trying to find Persitao behind
Yeah.
our defense.
Uh-huh.
Do you think that was a good strategy for South Africa?
At this stage, like you have to use what you have to find what you want. You have to use what you have to actually what get to achieve what you want to achieve. There's no way they can actually match Nigeria man to man physically. So the best approach was them to actually go over the top, and you can see clearly that when they are building, they build with four at the back. Zulu, you just mentioned, will be with Osai Samuel high up the pitch. It's going to be level with our back line, Zulu, the number 6. So they push also put Mudau. Mudau, I think that probably Mudau, I don't know what we're going to do to him now. The opportunity that he missed in the last minute when he skied it. So I think that what stood out for South Africa was like their tactical approach. I don't think there was any personality, and someone that really actually was stood out. But if I'm to pick anyone, I think I'm gonna go for the right back, Mudau.
Mudau, Kulizo
Yes.
Mudau.
Yes.
I think for me, the one player that I would just give credit on the South African side was Sitole in that midfield. I
Okay.
think he did a really good job. Going up against Franco Onyeka is not an easy job. And I think Sitole was quite good. In the entire game, he only misplaced 5 passes out of 69 passes that he attempted. So he was very accurate in his distribution of the ball, helping his team to move the ball forward. Even his long balls, he completed 2 out of his 3 long balls in that game. He, of course, had 1 shot on target, 1 shot off target. He won 7 duels, and he got fouled 6 times during that match. So he was really instrumental for South Africa in terms of releasing the pressure on their defense, helping them advance the ball forward, and helping them to just get some time to rearrange by winning fouls in the middle of the park. To me, I thought he did quite a good job, especially against Frank Onyeka in that midfield. So that's who I'll give credit to. I'll say Sitole, even though your name is very funny, forgive me for that, but your name is easy for people to make fun of. But still, I'll give you credit for the performance that you put in against the Super Eagles of Nigeria.
Sorry, I want to ask a question about the guy. He plays in the Segunda or the Portuguese league. He plays for Tondela.
Tondela, yeah.
For in the Portuguese league. Do you think scouts will look at him and say, "Oh, this guy's good"?
I definitely think so. I think he's been one of their good, or better players in this tournament. In the group stage, he wasn't great. He was decent. In the game against Morocco, he didn't have a good game. But in their 2 most recent matches against Cape Verde and against Nigeria, I think he was one of the players that really stood out. So, is he a world-class player? I don't think so. But is he better than playing second division football in Portugal? For sure. For sure. So I think he has definitely given a good audition of himself to scouts watching around the world. And, hopefully for him, he's able to get a move to a bigger league or to a better club. And then just to round off very quickly, of course, just for knowledge sake, we know that we are going to face these guys again in June when the World Cup qualifier rose upon us. So we already saw the the FA presidents of South Africa telling them that they need to get one back on us in the World Cup qualifiers. So this rivalry, quote unquote, even though they don't beat us, so I don't know how it's a rivalry, but this rivalry is going to continue in June. So yes, congratulations South Africa for getting to the semi-final. Hopefully they can win their 3rd place match. Okay, very quickly, let's talk about the second semi-final. This was the game between the host nation Ivory Coast and of course DR Congo. DR Congo did a fantastic job getting to this point in the tournament. not an easy feat, so we have to give them credit. But Ivory Coast, the host nation, after quote unquote dying in the group stage, struggling to qualify, finishing as the fourth best third place team. And then for them to get to where they are now in the final of the tournament, coming back from the dead in previous matches that we thought, these guys have lost, especially that game against Mali.
Mm-hmm.
How much credit do you give Ivory Coast for reaching this final, Smith Layi?
I think that though I know we're still gonna go to the preview of the game between Nigeria and Ivory Coast, but kudos to what they did. I think when they sacked their manager, I think that was a game changer. And the whole country, the whole team, it was like a family now. They rallied together. I think how they got to this level was basically fighting for the country. I don't think it was tactical. I think it was just a string of players coming together that they want to defend this nation. So, because, for example, now the game against Senegal, they would have been, defeated early in their game. The game against Mali too, they're half dead already. Though their best game was against Congo and Rwanda and Guinea-Bissau in this AFCON. Against Mali, they were already dead, waiting to be buried. Yeah. If not for the Mali coach, that's why the Mali coach, you can see they are making mockery of the Mali coach that was pouring water on his head.
When they were cooling his head.
Because he knew that he made mistake in that game. And I don't think that he can forgive himself ever. So they were just fortunate to actually what be here. But I have to salute them for their courage, for their, they didn't give up attitude, and now they are in the finals, but they will meet their match in the final.
Well said. They will meet their match in the final. Okay, but South Africa, Ivory Coast, in this game against DR Congo, I think they were clearly the better side. They dominated possession. They had more chances. They really just, outplayed DR Congo. And unfortunately, they were only able to score one goal through Sebastian Haller. But they were clearly going to be the better team. They also hit the bar early in the game as well. They missed two very quality opportunities that they potentially should have scored. So I'll say, Ivory Coast, well-deserved win, well-deserved place in the final after, overcoming all the odds. But on the DR Congo side, because Milai, you had predicted DR Congo to beat Ivory Coast.
You remind me.
So were you disappointed with DR Congo and how they performed, or do you think they just met a better side on the day?
No, I think DR Congo flopped the whole thing. I was so disappointed with their approach to the game. I think they were carried out. They were like, sometimes they were just like they were got swallowed by the occasion. Going to a big stadium in Ivory Coast, played against the host nation. They gave Ivory Coast too much respect. I think that played into Ivory Coast and they slaughtered them. Don't forget that the Ivory Coast were there for the taking the first 15 minutes. Even the DR Congo had the ball at the back of their net, but it's like they couldn't just manage it. DR Congo could not just manage it. It's like taking them out of their comfort zone. They could not manage the whole thing. So I think that was the reason why they actually surrendered so early. So for me, the DR Congo player, they look unfit. After 20 minutes or so, they look tired. They look unfit. It's like they just finished eating bamboo. They look so heavy. They have to pull out players that are even important. Kakuta was bundled out early. They took out Wisa, they took out Bakambu, because those guys were really, it's not that they were disappointed in that game. So for me, I was so disappointed. I knew that if DR Congo played the way they played against Morocco, they could play against Ivory Coast. That's why I was thinking that if they bring their A game, the way they played against Morocco, and they played against Ivory Coast that same way, they would have gone past Ivory Coast. In fact, even yesterday, I was thinking that if they could score in the first 15 minutes, they would have even tried to take out Ivory Coast, because they got the ball the back of the net. But I think the referee thought that the keeper already handled the ball. But, well, that is going to be a story for another day. But I was disappointed. I thought that this Ivory Coast team, I don't see anything special in this Ivory Coast team.
Okay. And so that kind of sums up our thoughts on the two semifinals. Of course, Nigeria winning on penalties after playing a 1-1 draw. And then, of course, Ivory Coast winning 1-0 against DR Congo in 90 minutes. I would say I'm glad to have got my 2 predictions correct. Smith Layi, unfortunately, 1 prediction wrong. Although Smith Layi's ultimate prediction might come through on Sunday, so that's one that you can still hold on. But for now, Smith Layi, let us predict the 3rd place match. We're not going to predict the final here. If you want to hear our prediction for the final, you make sure you watch or listen to the next episode after this one, where we'll be previewing the Nigeria versus Ivory Coast match. But for now, DR Congo versus South Africa for the as the FIFA president calls it, the bronze medal final.
Uh-huh.
Who do you think is going to win that game, South Africa or DR Congo?
I said it at the start of the tournament. South Africa is my surprise package. And you asked me too that day. I'm going to repeat what you said. Where will they finish? I said semi-final. And when you pressed me further this last week, I said that they will finish, they will win the 3rd place game. I will stand on what I said. South Africa will come 3rd. And unfortunately, my Congolese people, DR Congo, my Congolese friend, I'm sorry, they're going to actually finish 4th. I just think that, if there is any team that deserves to be in the final, among the 2 countries, it's South Africa. Actually, but unfortunately, it's our tournament. If they were playing against Ivory Coast, they would take out Ivory Coast. But because it's Nigerian tournament, that's why we would have lost that opportunity. Because it was Nigerian tournament, that is why Williams the sisters not even see the boy again. So that's it. South Africa to take bronze.
And I'll say I would agree with you on that one. I also think that South Africa will beat DR Congo. With all due respect to DR Congo, I think they've already punched way above their weight. And the South Africa side have been doing very impressively, and I think that on that day, they are going to have just about enough to get past DR Congo. And South Africa will finish with the bronze medal. They'll take it back to Joburg, I'm sure, or Durban, or wherever they are going to. And I'm sure that they'll be happy their fans in their country would receive them well. And even the DR Congo players, even if they finish 4th, I'm sure their country will be proud of them.
Sorry, before we end, apologies that before we end, do you think that South Africa will come in 4th in this AFCON, coming 3rd in this AFCON? They will think that we're the 3rd best country in Africa, which will be at the World Cup. Do you think that one will spring any surprises in the World Cup qualifier?
I think no, because for them, they've not really believed in their football team for a while, and for them to even come this far is a surprise or shock to plenty people. So I think if they would believe that if they can come this far, then yes, they can qualify. But if they finish 2nd to Nigeria in the group, I don't think it would be a disappointment. If maybe Nigeria don't win the group and they now finish 2nd behind Benin Republic, that's when they will look at themselves and say, what are we doing? But I think they would feel like they took Nigeria to penalties, and they had a chance to win. So they would believe that they are good enough to win the group. But if they don't win the group, I don't think they will be hard on themselves about it.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. So there you have it, guys. That's our review of the AFCON semifinals and, of course, our prediction for the 3rd place match. If you want to hear our thoughts on the final, make sure you watch or listen to the next episode of the podcast. That'll be out tomorrow. So thank you very much, guys. As always, my name is AyoT, and I have with me my reliable co-host,
Smith Layi. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.